Are you listening to Drive with Tony and Anna? It's 20 to 7. One of Britain's top police officers says that campaigners and politicians should be careful of the language they use over Brexit. The chairman of the National Police Chiefs Council, Martin Hewitt, has described the atmosphere in the UK as incredibly febrile and says that inflammatory words risk inciting violence. It is fair to say that the subject has sparked some impassioned language and fiery rhetoric over the last few years, both in and out of Parliament.
You might have seen some of the weekend newspapers reporting Tory backbenchers saying the PM would be knifed, others saying she should bring her own noose to a meeting with MPs to discuss her Brexit plans. One Conservative backbencher was quoted in the Sunday Times as saying, "The moment is coming when the knife gets heated, stuck in her front and twisted. She'll be dead soon."
It's not necessarily the passion that somebody speaks with. It's some of the specific words that are being used, things like traitors and things like betrayal, very, very strong language like that. Well, we spoke earlier to Sir Peter Fahey, the former Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police, and he told us what he thought of the MPCC's warning.
And the real problem is that there'll always be one or two extremists on the edges, sometimes with things like mental health problems, who might take this to more extreme action. And that's always got to be the concern.
Well, let's talk about that language. The language, the rhetoric, the idea of free speech as well, which is important in all of this. Brendan O'Neill is the editor of the online politics magazine Spiked. Hello, Brendan.
Hi there.
Hi. So where is the line when it comes to what people, and MPs and campaigners in particular, are who the police are talking about here? Is there a line that should be drawn somewhere?
I don't think so, and I absolutely don't think the police should be the ones who draw any kind of line when it comes to political speech and political rhetoric. I actually think it's incredibly worrying, not the rhetoric around Brexit, but the fact that the police feel that they have the right to interfere in politics in this manner. I'm really shocked by what the National Police Chiefs Council have done. We don't live in a police state. We live in a free country. We live in a democracy, I hope. And yet here we have one of the top police officers effectively instructing campaigners and journalists on how they may speak about an incredibly important political issue. I think that really suggests we're moving in a worryingly authoritarian direction. And I would like to remind the police that it is not their business to police how people think or how people speak, and they really need to butt out of this whole discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they're not making these kinds of things illegal. They're suggesting to people that they might not want to use that kind of language. And it seems that the place they're coming from is a reasonably positive one. They're trying to stop crimes being committed, certain individuals who might be influenced by that kind of thing.
But I think what we have there is the preemptive suggestion that if journalists or campaigners use particularly heated language, or even words like betrayal and traitor and so on, that it might trigger someone somewhere to do something crazy. I don't think that's how political life should be organised. People should be free to express themselves however they choose. If anyone chooses to act on those words, and of course throughout history, crazy people have always chosen to act on particular words, then that's down to the individual themselves. But you're right to the extent that you're saying that they're not going to criminalise people. They're not going to arrest us if we call a politician a traitor. Well, not yet anyway. But this is a very clear intervention by the police into political life, and even worse, into political speech. Yeah. And I just think that's really unacceptable.
I understand completely what you're saying, Brendan. I mean, they might say that their job is public protection as well. And if they see people being moved to act in a particular way because of what they're seeing and hearing, then they have a duty to try and protect the public, to guard against something like that.
Well, I just think that if something happens, then their job is to get it. If something criminal happens, their job is to get involved and to sort it out and to investigate it and everything else. But if we're just talking about the expression of political opinion, I think they have to tread incredibly carefully, because we don't want to be in a situation where the police feel they can tell us what we should be thinking. The other thing I find astonishing about this, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. A lot of this commentary about language and about heated rhetoric is being aimed at the Brexit side in this discussion. It is being aimed at those people out there, and there are millions of people out there who do feel that they have been betrayed. Betrayed is a perfectly normal word. Who might even feel that their MPs have behaved like traitors because they said that they would not block Brexit, and now some of them are trying to block Brexit.
Yeah.
People have to be free. I just think that a lot of people will see this as a very arrogant intervention because on the one side, the establishment is taking action to prevent a vote from going through, and then almost criminalising us if we get angry for protesting against
What about, Brendan, something like, and when we played those various examples of things people had said, the MP who had talked, who the anonymous source who talked about knifing Theresa May, and that was really graphic. And I mean, you know, even on your side, the things that you write, and you might use words like war and contempt and hatred, and as you say, you know, that encapsulates people's emotion. But I mean, I haven't seen you write anything like that would suggest kind of knifing somebody. So there is a line somewhere, isn't there?
I would never use that language. I would never use words like knifing and so on.
Yeah.
But I understand perfectly well that was metaphorical. And I have no doubt whatsoever that the vast majority of people understand that was metaphorical.
So
and
why, just out of interest, I mean, you said there that you wouldn't use that. So why? Because there's obviously, this is what I'm keen in exploring, there's obviously a line somewhere for you that you personally will draw.
Yes, and I think everyone has a personal line. Everyone likes a certain form of expression and dislikes other forms of expression. What I would say is that it's down to the individual or down to the community group or down to the political organisation to decide for themselves where the line ought to be drawn. It's absolutely not down to the police to decide where that line should be drawn. I just think the police, they're right to say that this is a febrile climate. There's a lot of tension, there's a lot of division, there's a lot of anger on all sides. But that is not necessarily a bad thing, because what we are seeing is the clarification of divisions in society, the clarification of tensions in society. And it's good, in my view, that those are coming to the surface and that they're being argued over in a very heated way. Politics was boring for an incredibly long period of time. That's one reason so many people switched off. It's become exciting again, and more importantly, real issues of substance are at stake. If we step in now and say to people, calm down, I think that's the wrong approach to take.
Brendan O'Neill, thank you. The editor of the online politics magazine Spiked. It's 10-7.
This is 5 Live Drive.
Final look at the headlines then tonight on Drive. More Brexit talks are planned tomorrow between the government and Labour after they met for more than 4 hours earlier. A report says the pilots of the Ethiopian airline